What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be looking at Baxcalibur, the pseudo-legendary for Scarlet and Violet. So basically we're looking at Baxcalibur because I think now is the perfect time to talk about it because it has a good place in the meta, and especially because it has just won a tournament. So which tournament are we talking about? We're talking about the most recent NinoPokeBros tour. It's about a 200-person tournament. So it's a very good sample size and a lot of good players were in it, and it turns out that not only did Baxcalibur take first place from Kyle's team, Animus as his name is, but it also got second place from Monkey VGC, and I'm pretty sure they built this together. They use the same squad, it's just a little bit of different order, but it's a really cool and unique squad. But before we talk about the tournament winning team and what Baxcalibur does, well, actually we will talk about what Baxcalibur does, but I want to take a look at its base stats and what it can offer. So it's a very bulky Pokemon in terms of HP, you know, base 115, so that's really nice. I think it ties with Annihilate if I'm not mistaken. No, it's actually a little bit higher than Annihilate, so that's good. So that means you can survive Final Gambit, so that's off the bat already an advantage. And then if you just look at its attacks at base 145, that's a lot. That hits harder than, you know, Dragonite, Garchomp, you know, it's about 10 base attack higher. And then the defenses are not too bad either, like base 92, the regular defense, and then 86 special defense. These are also relatively above average bulk, so that's pretty good. The only issue that it has is this mid-tier speed where, you know, like it's not too slow, or it's not slow enough for Trick Room, but it's not like super fast where like you can consider putting it on like Tailwind stuff. But like, you know, 87 is still not bad. It has like some tools to, you know, help it out a little bit. Like it does have Dragon Dance, if I recall. Yep, it does have Dragon Dance, so you can get speed that way. But you know, I believe like the Swords Dance on these tournament teams were the more preferred move, and we'll talk about that in a second. But in terms of what else it can do, you know, in terms of like moveset, it has a signature ability called Glaive Rush. So, you know, base 120 Dragon type move, really strong. The only drawback is, you know, your opponent's gonna, you know, sure hit next turn and then just deal like more damage. So just keep that in mind in terms of the interaction. But then it also gets priority move like Ice Shard, and then Swords Dance was the preferred set, and then last, like over here, would be Protect. So Swords Dance, you're able to go for +2, then you can go for like +2 Ice Shards, +2 Glaive Rushes. It actually hits like a truck. There's not too many that want to switch in unless you're a fairy type. So, you know, even then, just Baxcalibur puts on a lot of pressure. But really the value of it is what it can do against the rest of the meta, and we're going to talk about that now in a second. But Dragon Ice typing is really cool. The ability is also really nice, where, you know, when you're hit by a fire damage move, which you're only taking neutral damage to, not super effective damage, you're going to get an attack boost anyway, and you can't be burned. So that's really nice because, you know, Baxcalibur is a physical attacker. You don't want to get burned on your physical attackers, so the fact that you can't get burned is really nice from a fire damage point of view. And then you can always use it as a defensive pivot for things like steel types or grass types that are weak to fire types, you know, and then you can just potentially pivot in Baxcalibur, get an attack boost that way. So that's also really good in terms of an advantage here. Ice Spidey's not bad, but we're not really like using this with a Bomb of Snow. I think this is just a better ability. And then from here you can go like Life Orb sets, you know, Clear Amulet sets. It's just a really good bulky Pokemon, and, you know, again, the Ice Shard priority can really help you get around the lack of speed that it has, which is why it's used on pretty much any Baxcalibur set. All right, so that's in terms of its moves and abilities and its base stats. So like, what does it do into the meta? So for that, we have to look at the tournament winning team, where, you know, both of these squads here were able to top cut, and it's super cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at it right now. Okay, so this is Kyle's team. So, and again, Monkey VGC pretty much had the same team, if I don't recall. So you have Baxcalibur here, along with King Gambit, Amoonguss, Salazzle, the Water Paldean Tauros, and Mimikyu. So these are a lot of cool Pokemon on the team, and they have a lot of cool different sets, which we're going to talk about individually in a second. But Baxcalibur, so you got the Recovery Berry, Terra type Water, which makes a lot of sense. So this way you can resist the Steel type attacks, because that, you know, Gholdengo is an issue. But again, you know, even if the Fire type attack is like neutral damage, you can now resist that with the Water type thing. and it's a pretty standard setup with Glaive Rush, Swords Dance, Ice Shard, and Protect. So, you know, and if you look at this team in general, right, you notice like, where is the speed control? I don't see any Tailwind, I don't see any Trick Room. You don't see any of that, but what you do see is a lot of priority moves. So speed control doesn't really matter. You have Sucker Punch over here, you have Ice Shard over here, and then you have Shadow Sneak over here. So you have a lot of good speed control, and you have a lot of good bulk on a lot of these Pokemon. And Mimikyu has Disguise, so you're able to take that attack just in general. But you know, Amoonguss, you know, you can get redirection support, so that's one way you can keep your sweepers safe. You know, you do have Intimidate on the Paldean Taurus, which is all of a sudden rising in usage, and we'll talk about this in another timestamp in the video. But in terms of what Baxcalibur can do, without getting into these other mons, just for the time being, if you take a look at what's really hot right now in the meta, let me go on Pikalytics and show you like the top mons. So basically, you have Gholdengo at number 1, okay, and then as you scroll down, then this is where you see Baxcalibur's value. So Murkrow, Garchomp, Hydreigon, Amoonguss. So these 4, you know, they're really hot right now. And then like Ice Shard just one-shots Garchomp, of course. You know, it could Tera, but even then, Hydreigon also can drop to Ice Shard, and so does Amoonguss, and of course Murkrow. So Baxcalibur is really, really useful against what could be, you know, the top meta core right now, arguably, right? And just to like put in perspective how much Ice Shard can do into stuff like let's use Hydreigon for a second. Let's go into the damage calculator. I already have it set up here with Baxcalibur and Hydreigon. If I were to go Adamant and just put in Ice Shard, okay, without any boost, and this is a 252 Hydreigon set, by the way, and this is the Pokesports damage calc, just because it's a little bit more convenient because they have the Terastallize button. But look how much Ice Shard is doing without any boost. No attack investment, no Swords Dance. It's already like doing pretty much 50% damage, and that's a lot of damage, right? That's basically a 2-shot. And then if I can just like invest, or even if I get off a Swords Dance, how much is this? Like with no attack investment, with 1 Swords Dance, I'm able to pretty much have a roll to one-shot Hydreigon. And let's see how much attack I need just to be able to pull off this one-shot here. I believe, oh, should be like right around here somewhere. Yeah, right here. So yeah, this is it. So like 132 investment, okay, with a +2 Swords Dance is enough to take out a no bulk Hydreigon. That's insane. And then you can just invest more into its bulk, right? So if you can do something like this, where like you can almost pretty much max out its HP, go Adamant Nature, and then go for that 132 investment, which is very convenient. It's a nice even number for Swords Dance. Well, technically that isn't, because it's ×2. But again, now you have 124 EVs left to play with, where you can like put into like defense, special defense, or even speed, right? So that's really nice. And then of course you're just gonna one-shot Garchomp, so we don't need to show that calc there. But the fact that you don't need max attack and then just go like +2, you know, and then just like immediately take out Hydreigon. And even if you didn't get a +2, like let's say if you Terastallize into an Ice type, all right, and then how much is Ice Shard doing? So like again, that's still like really good damage. Like the fact that you don't even need like Swords Dance to just deal this much to Hydreigon. Like it's within chip range. All right, so that's the value there. And then if you were to go down this list, like Ice Cover just has like good stuff in general. Like Meowscarada also can drop to Ice Shard. And then what else here? Like the flying types, of course, Kilowattrel, even like Tatsudiri, Dondozo. If it Terastallises into a dragon type, then you have the advantage with Ice Shard, right? So there's the advantage there. Now, granted, it does have order up, but then you can just Tera into your Ice type and then you're okay. Dragapult drops. So you like Baxcalibur is up to 6.75% uses. Actually, I don't even know if this is updated, but it's still really, really good. And then if I were to just keep going down the list here, yeah, see the grass types, Breloom, are, well, these are not so relevant at the moment, but like, yeah, it just has like a really interesting place in the meta. The fact that you can just beat the Garchomp, Gholdengo, Hydreigon cores is actually really nice. And if you look at the tournament, just as a whole, let's go back here. How many of those did you see? So besides second place, like look at this, Hydreigon, Meowscarada, Amoonguss, that just drops Hydreigon. Even this one right here, you know, the Garchomp would drop, and then like, you know, you have some advantage against Tatsugiri, Dondozo a little bit. And then even here, Hydreigon, Breloom, they drop. You know, this is another Baxcalibur, by the way. So like, if you look at a lot of these top cores with like Garchomp, Hydreigon stuff, like over here, like they kind of just like have a bad matchup into Baxcalibur, and you have to use your Gholdengo or your Steel type, otherwise you're at a disadvantage here. Okay, and I see a lot of it. Like, look at this: Garchomp, Hydreigon, Murkrow. Like, it just does so much, and you know, it's no reason why it did very well. So we see the value there from Baxcalibur, right? And I think it's gonna rise because it's just like a really cool pseudo-legendary that can just counter the what could be again the top meta squad at the moment, right? So back to the team. All right, so now what we're gonna do is, now that we understand Baxcalibur and its sets, what it could do, now let's look at the rest of the tournament in general and see what else was cooking here from Kyle. Okay, so now we're looking at the tournament squad in general. So like, I actually did a little bit of research, and Kyle was using an earlier variation of this in the X9 League Tour, which was about a week ago. So if we go back there, right here, so this was back on December 21st, so a couple days ago actually, before even the Nino Tour. Kyle was using the same squad, but the only difference was that he had a Jolade instead of the Paldean Tauros, right? So more or less the same stuff, but he did have Endeavor on his Salazzle over here, but there was no Endeavor again on the more recent squad. But I believe everything else pretty much stayed the same, but he did have Jolade over here. So he tried it, guess he wasn't happy with it, and then switched to this, right, where he went with the Paldean Tauros, the water version. So again, common cores: Dragon, Fairy, Steel, Fire, Water, Grass, right? So you know, just like being flexible in your team building is always really nice. But the more interesting thing besides Baxcalibur is this Mimikyu. One, there's no Trick Room on it, and two, there's Life Orb on it, and that's actually important just because you're able to pressure the Gholdengos as well. Technically, Salazzle can do that too, but what Mimikyu can do is a couple things. With Life Orb, you get an extra damage boost, so now you can pick up the Garchomps and the Hydreigons and even the Murkrows as well. And then two, with Shadow Claw / Shadow Sneak and Life Orb boost, you can also now, you know, pick up those Gholdengos, right? Especially if they don't have any bulk. So there's some use there. And again, you can take one Make It Rain because you have Disguise, so that's also really nice. And then the Paldean Tauros, just with the Tera Fire option. So again, that's really good because you know, you're weak to grass. This pretty much just ruins every Grimmsnarl's day, right? Raging Bull. And if you don't know what the Paldean Tauros does, let's put it in here. First of all, it does get Intimidate. If you look at its base stats, like base 110 attack is really good. 105 defense is really nice, and special defense 70 is not terrible, okay? But the speed of base 100 is also really convenient, right? But again, Raging Bull, if you don't know what it does, it destroys screens, and it'll change depending on what type it is. So like, it'll become a water type move, and again, with Raging Bull, you know, you just ruin the Grimmsnarl screen stuff, right? So that can just break through, so it's a good lead. And then the Amoonguss, of course, is Rocky Helmet. This is, I'm pretty sure, is for the Mousehold stuff, so you're able to redirect the Mousehold Population Bomb and then just have it kill itself. Rocky Helmet is like maybe the most popular item at the moment, just because of what it can do against the Mousehold stuff. All right, so that's really nice there. And again, you might say Intimidate has dropped, but then Kyle says, you know what, I still value it, and I think it's really important against stuff like Garchomp that are starting to drop the Amulet and starting to go for Life Orb stuff. So I think he found value there with the Intimidate. All right, not even just Garchomp, but just other physical attackers in general. And his own way of deterring Intimidate is, again, he has the Defiant Kingambit, so that's also really nice. But again, close combat, you're able to just remove other steel types right off the bat. You're able to pressure dark types besides Mimikyu's Play Rough, so that's good there. And then Terra Blast is a fire type, which is also really nice. Salazzle, so now you might say, like, what does Salazzle do? So he's got Fake Out, Overheat, Sludge Bomb, and Taunt. So just looking at Salazzle stats here, all right, it does have Oblivious, right? So then you can't like taunt it, and of course it's immune to Intimidate, but again, that doesn't matter, you're a special attacker. Like base 117 speed is actually really good, so you can outspeed a lot of the meta. Maybe just not like the fast Tailwind users or even like Meowscarada stuff, but it's really good. A fast taunt user is always convenient. And then what this does, is if you consider Baxcalibur's weakness. You're weak to steel and you're weak to fairy. Salazzle does really well against all of those things. So because you have this fire move against those steel types like a Gholdengo, and then you can use Sludge Bomb against like the fairy coverage. So stuff like Sylveon, stuff like Grimmsnarl, stuff like Azumarill, right? Because, you know, with the Azumarill, you know, the fairy typing is weak to poison, and a lot of the Azumarills, they go for Terra Grass just so that they don't get hit by those grass type of moves. But then that just drops the Sludge Bomb anyway, right? Because, you know, grass is weak to poison. So that's very convenient in terms of what Salazzle can do. And it has Fake Out. So Fake Out user is actually really nice, especially if it's a fast one. All right. And then you're just able to, like, you know, when you go for Fake Out, potentially set up a Swords Dance, which is also really nice, or Fake Out Spore. You know, just a lot of different combinations that you can do here. So nice choice there with the Salazzle. Nice tech option. And then the King Gambit, of course, again, good against Gholdengo. Again, like, Gholdengo is going to have a hard time against this team, right? It only really does well against Baxcalibur, but then, like, you just have all these other options that can do well against it, right? So really, really cool. And again, this is like, you can't really play Trick Room against this team, right? Because Amoonguss and King Gambit can just do so much, especially if you have like priority Sucker Punches. Tera Water is also pretty cool, so you can resist the fire type damage just in general. So I like the team. It makes a lot of sense. You have the two major VGC cores. So yeah, I wish I could have talked to either of them just to know a little bit more about their team building and their choices. But just looking at the coverage, you could tell what they were going for. Terra type Dark is actually really interesting on the Amoonguss. That's probably for like resisting the psychic type stuff from like Indeedee Armor Rouge stuff. So you could just go for the Terra type, you know, and be immune to the psychic damage, and then just spore them. All right. So just in case they might go greedy and say, oh, I'm not going to Terra Grass, I'm just going to kill your Amoonguss. Well, now you just Terra Dark, and then you can just spore that slot. Or go for a Pollen Puff, so super effective damage there, which is really nice. Okay, so yeah, cool team from both Kyle and Monkey VGC. I don't know his name actually, so I just call him Monkey VGC. But yeah, now let's look at some of the other tournament stuff, because I noticed some interesting trends here from the rest of these guys. So now let's take a look at our next topic in the video. Okay, so right off the top, you know, just looking at other tournament teams, like where is the Dondozo stuff? So like how many Dondozos do we see in like Top Cut over here? So let's count. We have one Dondozo team here from James. Then as we go down the list, you don't even see it again actually until like, where is it? Did I miss it? No, I didn't. Yeah, right here, 28th place. Okay, excuse me. And then if I go down, like, where's another? Oh, right here in 24th. So like 1, 2, just 3 okay, 4, right? I missed this guy. So 4 Dondozos in the top 32, right? So actually, even, yeah, top 32, 4 Dondozos. So it's actually dropped quite a bit. I was expecting maybe like anywhere from 6 to 8, but now it's down to like about 4. And if you ask, well, why is it dropping? Look at how much Meowscarada is on the teams. Meowscarada can just ignore those defense boosts and just crit right through. So like you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What else you got here? 9, and then almost this one, 10. So like 10 Meowscaradas within the top 33. So that's one reason. All right, and then like all the Amoongusses have like you know, Clear Smog stuff. You know, it's just like there's so much tools against it now. And then like look how many Murkrows there are. Like there's so much Murkrow, and you know what Murkrow runs, right? It runs Haze, so you're able to remove that. And then, you know, I think there's a Scope Lens Hydreigon here somewhere. And remember, Scope Lens Focus Energy can just like immediately remove the Dondozo right off the bat. And I forget who ran it. Was it this guy? Nope, that's a Tailwind Hydreigon, which we'll also talk about in a second. I'm just trying to find, there was one guy who ran the, oh, this guy right here. So the Focus Energy, Draco Meteor stuff. So that'll just remove the, you know, the Dondozo right off the bat. So that's, and it's Scope Lens too. So we covered that in another video earlier. So that's another way to remove Dondozo. So of course they've all dropped for quite a bit, and you can see like there's a couple Dondozos here that are not in the top cut or not even at all. So good team building by our players here. You know, just having multiple tools to just be able to deal with the Dondozo stuff. So it has dropped. So now the Dondozo's teams, they're just gonna have to adapt a little bit. But yeah, we'll keep going. All right, the other thing I started to notice also was like the different Hydreigon sets that you'll notice in the top cut, and not just the sets, but there's one move that they're all running now, and I believe that is Tailwind, right? So if you look at this team, looks like a very balanced team, you know, Fire, Water, Grass Core, Dragon, Fairy, Steel combination, but again, this is a Tailwind Hydreigon. Safety goggles, by the way, with the Steel move Flash Cannon, so Tailwind on this Hydreigon. All right, and then over here, this is, I believe, another Tailwind Hydreigon, but this is, again, Covert Cloak with Terra-type Poison. All right, I'm shocked at the Covert Cloak. I think that's the first time I've seen that item on it, so that's interesting. But, you know, I guess you really want that Tailwind up. Okay, and then if I keep going down here, this third Hydreigon from Bread VGC, Terra Steel again, no Steel move, no Snarl, but again, Tailwind Protect. Okay, so that's another Hydreigon set. And then if I go down here to Ezrenin, okay, another Tailwind Hydreigon. This time, Tailwind Steel Flash Cannon. Okay, so, you know, basically, you've already seen like the first 4 Hydreigons. All right, within the top 8, they all have Tailwind. All right, and the rest of the sets are unique in what they offer. This is a Assault Vest Hydreigon from Azulite, and I think after that, there's no other Tailwind Hydreigon except down here. Where if we get to Ponka, yeah, another Hydreigon set with Tailwind, Heat Wave, so Terra Fire. So again, it's really cool that you can see like multiple Terra types on Hydreigon. That's why it's hard to play against sometimes. You know, if you don't know like their Terra type, if you call it wrong, you could just lose. But you know, a lot of them were Hydreigon. I'm sorry, a lot of them were Tailwind, and that's important, right? Because maybe you don't get too much pressure from like other Tailwind users, like maybe like Murkrow. Like for example, Murkrow is really cool. It's got a lot of support moves, but it doesn't really offer that much offense. But if your Hydreigon can put out Tailwind, and then you can put it with Grimmsnarl, then you can protect it with screens, and you can not only set up your Tailwind, but now start dealing damage with the same Pokemon, because Hydreigon does a lot of damage, especially if it's modest nature, right? So that's interesting to note, and the fact that a lot of the Hydreigons are now opting for more Tailwind, which is really, really cool. All right, let's keep going. All right, also the whatchamacallit, the weather team. So how much weather do we see here? So there's one sand team from James again. Is there another sand team? There's another one here. That's 2. Is there another sand team? I believe there's a third one. Yeah, there's 3 sand teams. How many rain teams? 1 here. All right, that's 1 rain team. And then if I keep going, there's another rain team over here, and that's it. So like 3 sand teams, 2 rain teams. So not a whole lot of rain. Not a whole lot of sand. There's one down here, I guess, but this wasn't quite in the top coat. But that, I guess we can still count it. It's close enough. So like about 5 or 6 weather teams. So not as much as in previous tours where like there was a lot of Pelipper rain teams, but now there isn't so much, and you know there's still a little bit of sand stuff. So I guess it's still pretty common and relevant enough where like, okay, yeah, these teams can still do well. So weather is still a thing, but again, no sun teams really. All right, there's one here. There's a Torkoal squad here. Is there any other Torkoal? Actually, I didn't really look at Torkoal stuff. But oh, there's a Frostmoth over here. That's cool. Yeah, no other Torkoal stuff. So yeah, just pretty much 1 sun team, 3 sand, and then like 2 or 3 rain squads. So a little bit of weather, but not a whole lot. But you know, again, it's still pretty good as far as like the tools that can offer. You get speed control stuff. You're able to just put out immediate pressure, especially if you can get either your Tailwind or your Trick 'em Up. You know, some of these teams have it, and then of course this is like the Dondozo stuff. All the sand teams have the Dondozo stuff, right? I believe. Yep, exactly. And again, if you also notice, there's a lot of other Baxcalibur here. How many Baxcaliburs were there in this tour? 1, 2. I believe there's a third one. 3, 4, and then 5, 6. So 6 Baxcaliburs in the top cut. That's actually very interesting. 6 Baxcaliburs. So, you know, again, we talked about it a little bit in the earlier part of the video, but now you can see that there's more. All right, let's keep going. All right, so like these are just like some other smaller topics within the tournament. So it's a relatively standard in terms of what you'll see. But again, like I think I noted this in my previous video, the Azumarill are creeping up again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so like 6 and almost 7 Azumarils in the top cut. So that's another thing I noticed. It's like the new dominant water type, right? Of course you'll see like Rotoms, right, and the occasional Palafin stuff. but like Azumarill right now is really good in terms of like, you know, the fairy type pressure against the dragons, the water type stuff against the fire stuff, and then, you know, you just have like a bulky coverage with like Aqua Jet, Liquidation, Play Rough, and you know, it's just like it does so much. And then if it's with like Gothitelle, it just offers Perish Trap stuff like this team I'm sure is Perish Trap. Yep, right here. So that's also really nice. And again, just use Azumarill. It's actually really good right now. You know, you can steer away from the Rotom stuff a little bit. Azumarill just offers a little bit more pressure. There's still like some Mousehold, there's Annihilate stuff running around. So like one here, one here. Like Mousehold is again still pretty dominant, along with the Annihilate stuff. And then like all the Murkrow stuff, like how many Murkrows do we see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, just like so much Murkrow, almost up to 10 Murkrows I believe are here. So like it's still the dominant Tailwind user. Of course you need it for haze stuff to remove Dondozo stuff, so it's really good. The Sylveons are also starting to rise again. How many Sylveons? Another good fairy option. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all right, 6, 7, 8 Sylveons. Like, my goodness. And you know, just like Hyper Voice Fairy Stab is actually really good. Quite a bit of Volcaronas now. 1, 2, 3, 4 Volcaronas are really good. Again, you know, just having access to Rage Powder, Tailwind, you know, Quiver Dance stuff, you know, you just offer a lot of pressure. So really nice to see more Volcaronas. And then of course we noted the Meowscaradas already. And then the Kingambit stuff actually is also rising. So it's a pretty good steel type besides the Gholdengo stuff. Like Gholdengo's still like crazy on all these teams. All right, but then you have another good steel type with Kingambit. So how much do we see? 1, 2, 3 over here, 4, 5, 6. And then if I go up more, 7, 8. So about 8 Kingambits. So that's really nice. And then the Paldean Tauros, of course, is rising again. So it's a good water option with Intimidate. You can break those Grimmsnarl screens. 1, 2, you know, 3 over here. What else do we have here? 4. Where else? All right. Oh, there's another horse there. All right. So about 4 Paldean Tauros, but notice how they're all like in the upper bracket. So yeah, we could see even more Paldean Tauros. I think it's really interesting in terms of like water options. So you have like Azumarill, Rotom, Paldean Tauros. These are all like the top water options at the moment. Yes, you have the Palafin stuff or Pelipper Beartic, you know, with the Water Tera, but those are like specific for rain teams. And I feel like just without those, I believe there's just like 3 good water types right now running around. So that's nice. Of course, you still have the standard Grimmsnarl stuff, but yeah, overall, just like a relatively standard tournament in terms of what we see. But it was just cool to note that Baxcalibur won this, and there was like about 6 Baxcaliburs in the top cut. So we'll see if there's more Baxcalibur moving forward. It does really well against the Hydreigon Garchomp stuff. So if you want to consider using Baxcalibur for that reason, definitely give it a go. But yeah, that's it for now. I just wanted to recap this tour a little bit and talk a little bit about Baxcalibur. What do you think of Baxcalibur? Let me know in the comments. We'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good one.